Welcome to episode 235 of CppCast, the first podcast for C++ developers by C++ developers. I'm your host, Rob Irving, joined by my co-host, Jason Turner. Jason, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I'm excited for this interview.
Yes.
You have anything you want to share before we get started?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Well, at the top of every episode, I'd like to read a piece of feedback. And this one was a comment on Reddit from Patrick about last week's episode, saying this was a really great episode. Thanks for consistently making my commute better, CppCast. So, yeah, thank you, Patrick. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the show. You can always reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, or email us at feedback@cppcast.com. And don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes or subscribe on YouTube. Joining us today is Hana Dusíková. Hana is working as a senior researcher in Avast software. She is the author of CTRE, the Compile Time Regular Expressions Library, chair of SG7, which is the study group for compile time programming, and Czech national body representative in WG21, the ISO C++ committee. Hana, welcome back to the show.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Yeah, so go ahead, Jason.
No, I was just going to say you've got a lot going on with the standards committee, but that is the entire point of this interview, so I'm not going to ask any questions about it at the moment.
Yeah, so we definitely want to go over the trip report that Bryce posted to Reddit, and go over your personal thoughts after the C++20 meeting in Prague. But before we do, I did want to comment on this video that went out. C++20 is here, and this was made by Bryce and Connor Hoekstra, and it looks like they did a whole bunch of interviews with different members of the ISO body. It was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah,
the way you just introduced that, I realized Bryce has reached the point of just being a single name person like Madonna or something. Sorry.
Yeah, Bryce Adelstein Eldbach.
Few years ago already, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the video is like, 8 or 9 minutes long. It's on YouTube, on Connor Hoekstra's channel. You should definitely go check it out. But we'll put a link in the show notes. You guys have anything else you wanted to comment on with that?
No, it's just kind of fun.
Okay. Fun video.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as we said, we have you here because you were at the recent ISO meeting in Prague. And before we get started on all the news that's in this trip report, maybe we should comment about how it was actually your company, Avast, that hosted this ISO meeting. And I was kind of wondering, you're already the chair of the SG7. Was there a whole bunch of extra work on you in having your company run this meeting?
Convincing my company, it was actually easy. We are proud to do it, but organizing it was really stressful for a few last months because I think I shouldn't say, but some members of committee cannot read. So originally it was like 150 people sign up, and that week it was like 233 people on the meeting. So it's a logistical nightmare.
Wow, so 150 people signed up, but 80 extra people actually showed up.
Yeah, but we had some buffer, so it was kind of okay, but it was logistically hard. And originally, when we discussed it with Herb, I was asked for 160 people and 6 rooms, and now we needed 9 rooms, and it's fun.
Wow. I wonder now what the next one's going to look like, if it's going to continue to grow like this or not.
Next meeting will be in Varna, and we expect a little bit less people because it's not a release meeting. There is always more people on a release meeting than on ordinary meeting, but the growth looks exponential.
Yeah, so this was the most, the largest C++ committee meeting ever. There are 252 people, according to the trip report. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I saw, correct me if I'm misquoting you, but I think on Twitter you said something like, it's like having a wedding. You invite all of your friends, but then you're too stressed out to spend time with them.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I was so stressed. I missed like half of the week.
Oh, that is
so
unfortunate.
You're kind of like a conference organizer, right?
Yeah, it's like conference. Original meeting C++ was 150 people. So
Yeah. Yeah, at
was,
230, that's bigger than the last 3 conferences I went to or something like that. Oh, no, not quite, but still.
Yeah, it's quite big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you did get a chance to sit in on some of the committee meetings so we can talk about all the different work that went into
Yeah, I spent some
meeting.
time in committee. Yeah.
At least the group that you chaired, anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. So let's start talking about what happened at this meeting. This was the last meeting for C++ 20, I believe. The draft is final. All of the national body comments were resolved. Is that right, Hannah?
Yeah, this was actually a release meeting. We finished the C++ 20, and the draft, International Standard Draft, DIS, is going to ISO. And now all national bodies will vote on it. And if we don't get any negative votes, it will be expedited on a quicker path, and it will be released in 3 or 4 months officially.
So it's hypothetically possible that some international body could still block it somehow.
Yeah, it's possible, but all national bodies of Subcommittee 22, at least majority of them were in the room when it was voted in, so it should be a problem.
Okay, good.
Very good.
So I expect it will be released in 3 or 4 months.
And it's not listed in this trip report at all, but I think this is the first meeting that the Israeli national body attended.
Yeah.
And so I just thought I'd point that out. They had, I think, 4 or 5 people, it looked like, who went.
Yeah, and I think it was last year in Course C++ when Bryce gave them a lightning talk about how to become a national body, so it was quite quick.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we can blame Bryce for size of the committee.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, I actually become a Czech national body also because of Bryce pushed me, so thank you, Bryce.
So this is the first standard that the Czech national body will be voting on as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about what did change in this C++ 20 draft. There's just a couple bullet points here. The first one is improved context-sensitive recognition of module and import to make it easier for non-compiler tools such as build systems to determine dependencies. Is there too much to comment on with this one? It seems to make sense. I just kind of skimmed over the paper.
You should skip modules because I skip most of discussion on modules. So
Okay.
I wasn't in the room.
I keep waiting for a compiler that 100% supports it, so I know what I'm looking at. That's where I am with modules.
Yeah, they are kind of complicated, but I think it should be usable and nice.
Okay. Well, it definitely looks like this is a good change for build tools that want to implement modules. Yeah. Okay. Several new rangified algorithms were added.
I've seen a bunch of complaints about algorithms missing from ranges in the first standard. So I don't know if this relieves any of those complaints.
I'm not sure because at this meeting we only did small changes and national body comment resolutions, and so there shouldn't be any significant changes on this meeting. There was no. So if you're missing any algorithms, probably you need to wait to 23.
Yeah, that's what I've heard mostly is, you have to wait.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you cannot get everything. Some things are really hard to implement. For example, zip algorithm. And I was on the meeting. It was on the last meeting, I think, and they found some issues with it, so they decided not to go forward with it.
Okay.
They will probably need some changes in stud pair or something. So.
Stud pair is not complicated enough yet. It needs some more additions.
Yeah. Actually, actually it's really hard to keep to be updated with all progress because there are 9 rooms in parallel, and you have no chance to to know about everything. So you just hope that right people are in the room and you trust them.
Browsing through that paper, it looks like some of the changes are algorithms that were first created in C++20 that got overlooked for being added to ranges, like shift left and shift right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible. I'm looking at the paper now too.
Okay. Only a couple more things for changes and additions to C++20. The other one added ranges S size, so that's signed size in addition to the existing stood size.
Yeah, making that more consistent. S size is Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just making it to more consistent with the rest of the libraries. We have stud size and stud S size, so we also want stud ranges size and S size.
Right. Okay. And then another module-related thing, redefining the meaning of static and inline in module interfaces. So I don't know too much about this one.
I didn't even click on that. I didn't.
Okay. So one of the other papers that I did read through, which I found to be very exciting, I think we may have talked about previously on the show when we saw the paper originally submitted, Jason, was this one, adopting a plan for C++23. The paper is 0592, and it's to boldly suggest an overall plan for C++23. And it looks like this was approved. So we at least should have some idea of what features we will get, assuming this plan is followed through with C++23, right, Hannah?
Yeah, this plan is mostly to set priorities for the committee, what we should spend time and what we should spend less time. So it's more than wish list, but something can change. For example, if we found some problem, we can postpone something, and if we found that we are already with something, we can push something forward. For example, some people, including me, wish for reflection in 23.
Mm-hmm.
Hope.
Yeah, so the list of features here that are on this wish list for C++23 are library support for coroutines, a modular standard library, executors, networking, and then also reflection, pattern matching, and contracts.
Yeah, but for last 3 we don't have any particular shipping vehicle, so when we will be there, maybe we will release it.
What does that mean by no particular ship vehicle? Like there's no TS for it yet?
No, reflection already has TS, but we are not sure if it will be 23 or 26, for example.
Okay.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah. But hope for the best, and we will get all of them, but we will see.
Right. And contracts, again, Redux, part 2. Contracts, the return.
The discussion in Cologne was really heavy, and I was in the room, and it was a lot of strong words. Yeah, but I hope we will move with the contracts forward because they can be useful for many things. We need to decide for what things.
I think it's worth, since you said that there were lots of strong words with contracts, it's worth at this moment scrolling down to the first comment on the Reddit discussion, if you were so inclined to read that. Or, sorry, not the first comment, but the second one, because the first one's from Bryce, basically saying that they were overwhelmed with how friendly everyone was at the committee. So we talk about this fighting and these discussions and how people are, very strongly opinionated and whatever, but apparently it's still a very friendly atmosphere.
It depends on meeting, I think. Okay. and the committee is trying to do the best. And this meeting was more relaxed, mostly because it was a release meeting, so there wasn't expected any big changes. It was not near the deadline, like in Cologne. Right. And there was everyone wants to push their stuff into 20 because it was deadline meeting. This was Belfast, and Prague was National Body Resolution meeting, so it was less controversial. Okay. And also, when we choose the venue for the Prague meeting, I ask for venue with windows, so people can look outside and watch that there is a world outside.
That venue was like, was it on a hill or something? So you actually had a view?
Yeah, there was nice view to the city.
Yeah.
So people could see daylight, and it was much like relaxing to everybody.
That does seem helpful.
Yeah.
Actually, at the beginning of the meeting, Titus approached me and thank you. I have window in my room.
I like to always request that also when I'm teaching, like a room that's like in the basement with no windows, it doesn't help anyone's mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you wanted to talk about with C++20, Hannah, or should we start talking about, some of the other discussions that went on, post C++20?
I think I will quote Tony, C++20 is done.
Perfect. That's great. So one thing we've talked about recently, and you just mentioned Titus, was this ABI stability paper that he posted, and we talked about it with him on the show a couple months back. And that discussion did occur at this meeting. Were you able to attend that, Hannah?
Yeah, I was in the room.
So how did that go?
Interesting. People argued for ABI breaking and against, because you can see reasoning from both sides. For example, if you want performance, you probably and if you are able to recompile everything, you obviously want to be able to break ABI.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I can understand why companies like Google wants to break the ABI, because they can, and they just recompile everything and gain few percent of performance, and it will save them some money. But also some company cannot do that. It wasn't in the discussion, but for example, Sony with PlayStation, they need to keep ABI stable so you can play old games on your PlayStation. And if we break the ABI, we will change ABI of C++, and they will stuck on old version or with some fork, and you don't want to fork C++, because in the moment when we break ABI, there will be new group which will maintain old C++ for compatibility reason. So there is arguments for breaking and against. I'm not sure where I'm standing, so I was mostly just listening and vote neutral.
Okay, that's an interesting point about PlayStation. I hadn't considered that before, but yeah, if you have an old PlayStation 3 disc and you want to be able to play it on PlayStation 4,
you cannot do that, by the way.
Oh, you can? Okay. But,
yeah, but
that type of situation is what you're talking about with ABI compatibility, right?
Yeah.
Or even if you have a game that's released next year with a new compiler for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Then you would have to ship a whole new set of libraries also to go with it, I guess.
Yeah, but there's also reasoning that there are companies which already went bankrupt, but people are still using libraries from them in binary form, and you cannot recompile them because there are no source code anymore, and you want to be able to use them. I don't know if it's a reason to stay on ABI.
Yeah, I don't have a company or even work for a company really, so I guess I don't. Yeah, my opinions, you can take them with a grain of salt, but I'm thinking the PlayStation argument, I get that. That's the first one that I've heard in a while that I think actually makes sense to me, because you have a device that's shipped with libraries on it, for example. But we're using a library from a bankrupt company, that just sounds like a business liability, because you have no way to fix that.
Yeah.
Someone was arguing that some government system is using this library, and
well, then
No further comment about this.
Some government processes are very slow, so that's easy to believe.
Okay.
So it depends if you are a company using C++ internally for backends, that's easy. But if you are shipping something, it can be problematic.
Right.
For example, on Windows platform, it's easier because you can ship multiple versions of standard library, and it's no problem. So there is so many voices, and we couldn't find any consensus to do anything significant, which is probably good. I don't know. So it's mostly that status quo is still here.
That should be a fun exercise for the listener right now to go in. If you use Windows, go into Add Remove Programs and see how many different versions of the Visual C++ runtime you currently have installed. I bet it's at least 6.
Yeah. Especially if you play any PC games.
Yes. Right.
So yeah, it says here that they did, that there's no pursuit to make a clean ABI break at this time, but they did affirm that authors should still be encouraged to bring individual papers for consideration, even if they would break the ABI. So
yeah,
I know you're saying status quo, but I know one of the things Titus was saying is that, if someone brings forward a paper, but someone realizes it's an ABI break, is that usually means that paper is just dead on arrival. Is the committee maybe changing their stance on that?
Yeah, there's slight change in it. In past, if you bring any paper with slight ABI break, we just said no, we cannot do that. Mm-hmm. But now we will at least discuss that.
Progress.
And if we find consensus in the committee, we can break a small part of ABI. Same thing what happened with stat list and stat string in C++ 11.
Okay, right.
But I don't know about you, but it still haunts me in our production, so I don't know.
No, last time it came up for me at all was a while ago, at least 5 or 6 years ago. But I do know other people who have been hit by it very recently also. I feel like there's no chance we're going to get through every part of this trip report time-wise. So if you don't mind, I'll take a quick skip down because you just said that they are willing to discuss ABI breakage. Now, there's some discussion about RegX for C++ 23.
Yeah, I was in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So it sounds like fixing RegX would be an ABI break, and so they don't want to do that.
Yeah, we discussed one paper to fix RegX to support Unicode from one guy from Japan, and we found that it's hard to do in current implementation. It's almost impossible. So we discussed that we will write a paper about deprecation of StatRegex.
Right.
And we will present it next meeting, and if there will be consensus, we will deprecate StatRegex. Given we cannot break ABI. If we can break ABI of StatRegex, we can fix it.
Okay. Are you also going to deprecate bind while you're at it? No, sorry, it's completely off topic.
This is going from SG16 Unicode group, so we cannot
right.
do bind.
So if you are involved in that paper to either fix or deprecate StatRegex?
Only deprecate paper.
Only deprecate. Is it fair to say you might be slightly biased in this?
A little bit, yeah. I propose, I think, during discussion to deprecate it.
Okay.
So, but most people in the room agreed that's the right direction because performance-wise, it's the slowest implementation. Mm-hmm. And if you want some Unicode support or anything, it's simply broken.
Is the idea to deprecate and replace it with a different library, maybe something that looks somewhat like CTRE?
If someone bring paper, yes.
Okay.
I would prefer to write the paper, but there's time constraints, and so I don't know. But I will try to bring it. No, I don't know if for next meeting, but for the next one, probably yes. But it's still just CTRE, and I don't know how much I will be support from ECMAScript, and they will probably bike share to the proposal and ask for more features, and then performance will go south. Is it right term?
Yeah, go south. That works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sorry for that diversion. We can go back up in the paper if you would.
That's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, after ABI discussion, the next thing on here is the Evolution Working Group Incubator, or OOGI, and one of the things
I wasn't there, so.
Oh, you were not there. Okay.
No.
One of the things I did want to comment on was another list or guest we had recently was Vittorio Romeo, and it looks like the epoch feature that he was proposing did not get any consensus to proceed. They found some problems potentially with concepts that would lead to ODR violations. Oh, with templates.
With templates, because templates in some implementations are implemented as a stream of tokens.
Okay.
And if you have template from different epoch, it can have different meaning based on epoch, and you cannot easily fix that. At least that I heard. I wasn't there in the room, and I found funny because epoch from Rust are inspired by our Switch stud version of standard. So epoch in Rust was inspired by our Switch to specify version in compiler, and we are bringing it back to C++.
That tends to be how things go.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the end of epochs, or if Vittorio will find some alternative proposal. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anything else you wanted to highlight with the OOGI papers?
I wasn't there.
Okay.
How about you, Jason? We wanted to talk about anything?
The partially mutable lambda captures, I get, but it's weird because it kind of breaks how lambdas, well, it doesn't break how lambdas are implemented, but it's weird. So teaching the implementation of lambdas for people who care would be slightly weirder than it is today. This is allowing you to mark parameters mutable instead of marking the entire lambda mutable to say that it can, captures mutable instead of the entire lambda saying that captures can be mutated. Yes. So in this case.
That seems interesting.
Yeah, so if I understand right, and I was actually just thinking about it this morning before we got started here, if you mark the capture mutable, then that would actually add a mutable keyword to the object in the implementation of the lambda. Whereas today, when you mark the lambda mutable, it removes const from the call operator in the implementation. So they kind of do the same thing, but by different mechanisms.
Yeah.
And then also C++ should support just-in-time compilation.
Yeah, I was in a room in G7. We discussed this paper.
Okay.
And we asked author to bring the proposal again and ask to discuss with the authors of reflection if there is a possibility to have same API for both, because it's actually a similar feature.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they will return with something, or they will return with something it's different. So, but we ask to do this research because until now it was just two separated proposal and they didn't look on their work. So we asked them nicely to talk to each other.
Okay. What other working groups did you spend some time in, Hannah?
I was a few times in EWG, but I don't remember much. I was in my room. I was stressful week and I got sick after that. So yeah, that's okay.
Oh, we can just do a high level on these things in EWG. Many of them talk about things we've talked about on the podcast. Yeah. Deducing this got some movement, it looks like.
I was in the room.
Yeah. So deducing this is the ability to template on this. So today, where you might have to write like a const and a non-const overload and a R value reference and an L value reference overloads for your member functions or whatever, you can template on this instead and avoid writing all the different overloads. So that got some movement. And stood embed, it looks like, might be moving forward.
Yeah, stood embed got nice positive feedback, and it looks like on good path.
That one I'm looking forward to. It seems like every other week I'm like, yep, could use stood embed here.
Yeah. It's really nice how the committee shifts from no, we cannot do that to yeah, we actually like it. And actually, most of the work is because John Heath did a lot of benchmarks and analysis, and he actually did some implementation in GCC, and I think currently he's working on Clang implementation.
Right.
And it looks promising.
That definitely seems to help if you can bring in implementation with your paper.
There are some like interesting issue with Unicode, by the way. If you ask for a file with Unicode name, there are like during compilation there are multiple translation phases, and your encoding on source files can be different than encoding of execution encoding. Okay. And compiler can convert the source file encoding into execution encoding after preprocessing phase. Okay. But stood embed is happening in after the preprocessing, and you can ask for some file name which cannot be expressed in execution encoding. So we ask in Unicode group to do not support const char star names, but only U8 and U16 string based names, because they are explicitly marked that they must be Unicode.
Right. Huh.
Because it can happen that source encoding can be Unicode, but execution can be some abdic or something really odd.
Right.
Sorry, IBM. And then if you want to convert it back to UTF, there can be it's not isomorphic, so it's lossless. So we ask only for Unicode support, nothing else.
It's funny that you bring up old IBM encodings as potential problems, because I've been aware of them since I started studying computer science in 1996 and through my whole career, but I have never once actually had to interact with one of those old encodings. I know people who do. I have friends who work in the banking industry and are regularly moving data between old mainframes and stuff but I have not personally.
Yeah. At least few people in the committee needs to work with IBM, so we need to support abdic.
Right.
But it's not just about abdic. It can be on Windows. Your compiler can have execution encoding different than Unicode.
Right.
Right.
I find this next random thing that's actually right before embed that there's more discussion about fixed layout floating point types, float 16, float 32, float 64. And I don't know why, but I just find a short float, a float 16, to be just fascinating. Like, I just want to work with one. Like, when do you need that low of precision and still want floating point?
Actually, I'm not using floats at all in my work, so I'm not sure about machine learning or GPUs when you don't need big precision.
Right. I still want to play with it, though. I want to see it.
Yeah. Actually, I think the proposal came from someone from NVIDIA, so I'm not sure, but they want to express the floats from their GPU in code.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds familiar. Yeah.
One of the other things that went through EWG is pattern matching, and it sounds like that's making some good progress.
Pattern matching is long-term project, and it's from now forget his name.
Michael Park?
But Michael Park, and it's like much better switch statement.
Yeah.
You can have switch over content of tuples or vectors of arrays, and Michael Park in CPP now last year he presented pattern matching proposal, and he showcased like customization points, so you can provide your own mechanism to work with pattern matching. And he showcased a really nice example with CTRE. So you can have like pattern matching over regular expression from text. So if pattern looks like US style date extracted, if it's is a style date extract month, year, day, and so on.
Okay.
It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Core working group then?
I wasn't there at all, and they are usually doing only wording. So on this meeting they spent mostly about checking if everything is as it should be, like perfect and correct. So there are like no significant changes from core working group, because they are doing actually the standard list text work. So they are sitting in the room, and there is like a hive mind. There is no projector, and it's silent there. and they are just looking at the proposal, and now and then someone says missing comma in paragraph 3, second sentence. Others just nod and continue.
Wow.
It's like an episode of Doctor Who or something, I'm pretty sure. I think.
Don't get me wrong, they are like the most brilliant minds of the committee.
Oh, sure, yeah. If they can communicate via telepathy, then they must be.
Yeah. They're making sure C++, there is no like contradictions, and there is no like corner cases, unspecified, and so on and so on.
Right. Well, there is one thing in here, though. I mean, well, there's a bunch of stuff about modules and inline stuff that we already hinted at. A syntax gotcha for requires expressions. I'm happy about that, but I'm not even going to click on it because I don't want to know the details. But then it is going to be an error to treat initialization of a bool from a pointer. That will be an error. That will be a narrowing. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Initialization of bool from a pointer. This is one of these things where people will post tweets and say, like Shafiq, like, and does this code compile? What does it mean? And it often comes down to this kind of thing.
I saw an example for this paper, and it was like calling some function with const char star.
Uh-huh.
And example was like function and string yes, no, true, false, or something. And because they are all non-zero pointers, they was always converted. They were always converted into true, silently.
Right.
With bool. Sorry. So it will never happen, and I think some compilers are already warning on this. So it's just making standard practice, and no one should use this intentionally. So they making it error.
And so it says retroactively, which I find interesting because the only other retroactive change I'm aware of is auto with initializer list, deducing initializer list in an auto context. And it looks like, so this change will go back to C++ 11. So if you compile with any version of C++ after C++ 11, then this will now become explicitly an error.
Yeah.
I'm reading that right.
Yeah, we can do that with defect report. So yeah.
It's interesting. There's other things I would like to defect report. No, anyhow.
Yes, to regex.
Maybe the 17 different overloads to standard pair, since we just mentioned pair a moment ago.
Maybe we can talk a little bit more about the SG7 group that you are the chair of. According to this, you spent some time talking about Circle, which we also discussed recently on the show.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about Circle metaprogramming model, and there was a paper arguing against it, and there was a paper arguing for it. And the discussion mostly went into the direction if we want to support running any arbitrary code during compilation in your build system.
Okay.
Many people are scared of it, including me, because if you can run any arbitrary code with from external libraries or even just from C++, it's actually potential security issue.
Okay.
For example, if you can run any library, it's really easy to load something and do anything in your build system. But even if you can run only a standard library, we have we have an additional poll if you want to allow only standard library code. For example, in my mind, there is like example. For example, you have a build system, which is cut from internet, so there shouldn't be any like issue like infecting something. But same code can check during compilation if it can connect to internet. And if not, it won't do anything. But if it's on developer machine, then same code can contact internet and change itself, modify file in your source code, and infect itself and go into the and push itself into your gate. So completely silently, you can have malware in your code, and it can be a problem for some companies which distribute applications.
Yeah, that's a scary idea.
And it's really hard to like block everything because it's just another vector to attack, and it's just running untrusted code in environment no one is used to run anything. If you look at current ConceptPer, it's limited, and it's actually a functional language, and it cannot change anything. It can only compute something.
Right. Things go ahead. Sorry.
If we add stat embed or something, we can read files, but we cannot change them. So it's still reproducible and kind of secure. And the vote, there was a consensus. We don't want to run any arbitrary code. Even we don't want to any arbitrary code using only standard library because we are going to get networking. We already have file system.
Right.
So it's ConceptPer has many caveats, but we are making it better. And if we want to start spending time on Circle or Circle style programming, we will introduce kinda new keywords or some. I don't know which direction we will take, and we will introduce another sub-language somehow limited, or we cannot just delete ConceptPer from standard because it's already there. People are using it. So it's a lot of work, and the discussion was quite heated. We actually ran out of time, and the poll results are, we are afraid of security, and we didn't decide to take whole proposal, like take everything from Circle into C++, but we can take like pieces of it. If we like something, there can be proposal in future for specific thing.
Okay.
Actually, the two competing proposals wasn't actually proposals. It was mostly discussion. What we can do and what we cannot, and current status with ConceptPer and current status with Circle implementation. And it was like show everyone we can do this and we can do that. We should discuss with the direction we want to go.
That's really interesting. Like, well, there are other languages out there today that are compile time besides Circle that allow you to do any arbitrary thing at compile time. And the people who are proponents for that say, yeah, you should be allowed to do it. Why not? But it is a bit sobering to consider what you're suggesting. That just simply compiling code it now becomes a threat vector. That would, yeah.
Yeah, and if you not one C++ developer is used to think about security in this way.
No.
Yeah.
We have a hard enough time thinking about security of the code we're writing.
Right.
That's true. And so if we are going to this direction, maybe in future, we need to learn how to think differently. And for example, people are used to PHP or any interpreted language. They are used to this thinking.
Right.
You're running what you are writing immediately, but we are not. In the discussion, there was some also arguments that Circle currently is not cross-compiling. So if you are cross-compiling, for example, for GPU with different behavior of floats or anything, you need to emulate somehow, and you need to emulate all combination of switches. For example, if you have soft FPU or hardware FPU enabled, because they are behaving differently. And you need to have libraries available for all combinations if you want to have proper and reproducible build.
Yeah. I mean, cross-compilation is hard enough already in many contexts.
Yeah.
That's something you have to deal with too, huh, Rob? Or used to.
Still do, both Android and Windows, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're starting to run a little bit low on time, Hannah. Were there any other papers or work you did in some other study groups that you wanted to highlight before we let you go?
I think that's all I remember.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you had a very busy week, and yeah, the consensus is we're all happy that C++ 20 is done, right?
Yeah, before we will end, I would like to thank all people which were available to me, which helped me with organization of the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Namely Radka Seberova from Avast, which she did almost everything, like from organization perspective, like, and all my friends, which was available to me to let my stress out, and it was really helpful. So yeah.
Good.
Okay. Well, it's great having you on the show again today, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.